is it part of your ambition to have a catalytic effect with the local public training schools or universities or public education bodies? And if so, how do you see that working?
It's a great question. I mean, our ultimate vision is definitely to impact the system, systemic change, because even if we can reach 100,000 youth in jobs, it's still a drop in the bucket compared to the 100 million needed in the region, according to the World Bank by 2020. So we're already planting the seeds for that. We're working closely with ministries, with educational institutions, with universities in many of the countries where we operate, like Morocco and Tunisia and Jordan. In fact, we work with we hire the trainers from those institutions to train in our classrooms. We embed some of our curricula into those institutions, and we work with them to bridge this gap of their graduates into jobs. So we're already working with them. The question is, how can we influence or inspire governments to fund this on a large scale in their own institutions? So that's something that we're under discussion in a number of the countries. In other countries, it's pretty difficult to work with the institutions. They're either not functioning at all, or it's hard to be in conversation with the government. But where we can, we're certainly doing that.
I tend to be an optimist, and I believe that we will, within the next few years, hit a tipping point in most of the countries we're operating where it becomes unacceptable, where it becomes common knowledge that if you go to an EFE program, you have 85% chance or better or worse, but roughly in that neighborhood of getting a job. And so therefore we'll make it unacceptable to go anywhere else where you spend all your time, money, and effort and you don't get a job. And I think we will, and are on the road to changing that and having broad changes in these countries as we become better known, as we become larger. And we've been growing very rapidly.
If I could just add as well, we humbly think we've changed the conversation from youth employment on the input side. So typically it's been about training, it's been about coaching, it's been about mentoring. So the inputs to the young person, but not the outcomes in terms of the job outcomes. So the conversation now at many of the international fora and regional fora that we're a part of is much more about how is your program going to provide tangible economic outcomes for the young people you serve and not lead to more despair by having them in training programs and mentoring programs that are isolated and don't actually help them start a business or get that job. So we've changed the conversation, we think, and now it's a question of, can we get massive funding into these countries to scale this model, both at EFE, but also with other organizations on the ground.